Should you summon Musoku Tensei Part 2 featuring Sylph and Eris? Part 1 came out about, 2.5 weeks ago? And now we have Part 2 coming out with also some new units and a new awakening, which your boy OP didn't get to because, I lost track of time. But to be honest, this banner has some ups and a lot of downs, but we're going to talk about it all in this video. And I really don't think it's going to take a very long time to discuss this banner. So before we get into it, if you guys find this video informative, helpful, entertaining, whatever the case may be, amen. I appreciate it greatly if you would drop a like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot. Now, let's get into this banner. This banner will of course be featuring Eris, Sylph, Cilia, Millennia, and our newest addition to the Grand Summoners global scene, Eternia. So first and foremost, let's talk about Eris. Eris is an all-around just fire attacker, infinite damage stacking, not literally infinite, but it's infinite in theory. Really nothing wrong with her from an attacking standpoint. But yeah, there's not really much else to say here. She has crit damage in her kit. She has 100% crit rate with her true art, damage up buffs with her art that's able to be stacked. I mean, there's really nothing wrong here. If you want a stacking or a ramping fire attacker that has a really high multiplier, then hey, go for it. Next is Sylph, and Sylph I have very mixed opinions about. I think that she's really good, but at the same time, I also think that she's completely irrelevant. But if you are lacking in a support unit, I'm talking about rock bottom at the moment. You ain't got no Juno, you ain't got no Mako, no Acerpa, no Rimuru. You know what I mean? You're playing the game on hard mode. I would actually recommend looking into Sylph. Sylph has healing, status element resistance, art gauge, damage resistance, and she can also cleanse poison. There's a lot of stuff going on, especially in the defensive apartment, but that's about where it ends. She's not really doing too much for damage dealers unless you consider the mixed blood elf passive she has, where that increases the attack of humans, beasts, and spirits by 30%. Apart from that though, she's not offering anything else in terms of DPS, or which to be honest, I can get behind. The only reason why I would say that you wouldn't really look at this unit, or you'd probably just skip over her, is that if you already have a lot of the top tier supports in the game, then Sylph really isn't going to help you. But even with all that being said, I still think Sylph is a viable asset to your team if you're lacking in support units. If you have the other support units, then absolutely you don't really need to look for her or try to grind and get her. But she'll definitely help you out in light ruins and in other team comps if you need that second support unit on your team. But the other banner mates we have on the banner, we have Cilia, which Cilia is a pretty old tank, and to be honest, if you're looking at this banner trying to get a tank, I would actually advise against going for Cilia just because she's so old. She still can hang with a lot of the other tanks, but not as good, I guess you would say. My recommendation to you would just be waiting for a forever summon and trying to get Thetis from a forever summon, since I think the current forever summon ended. If it's still ongoing, then I would just recommend trying to get Thetis from that forever summon or from another one, because Cilia is just going to be there as a placeholder until you get someone better. Next is Millennia. Now, Millennia is one of the best fire units in the game for Aces. She's extremely strong against Aces and does a lot of damage against that boss fight. However, I do think that that is pretty much where her niche is, and it kind of falls off everywhere else. I do think that she applies a pretty solid damage buff with her true art, which is the 70% crit damage up to the entire team. But I feel like nowadays we have so many buffs and so many units and equips and all that that can just buff up all types of damage that more than likely you probably have somebody that can fill in where you would probably want to put Millennia already. However, if you're newer to the game and you're looking to do Aces, hey, Millennia may be your ticket to try to do it. And then finally is Eternia. Eternia, Blades of Dawn. She's the newest addition to Grand Summoners Global. I think she's a pretty old unit from JP, but hey, at least she finally made her way onto the global scene. And I've looked over her kit, and to be honest, I want to say she's really nothing special, but I think she does have some use for people who need this type of unit. For one, she's able to reduce your enemy's paralysis resistance with her skill. She's able to increase her accuracy with her art, and then with her true art, she's able to buff up physical damage by 50% and light units attack by 20%, and it has a high chance of paralyzing the enemy. This just screams that she's really good in some of the floors that you need to paralyze in the mono light ruins. After doing it recently on live stream, I will say that you could use other units, of course, if you have them. Like for example, I even used Edrum, so I don't think that Eternia is that much of a must. But if you're lacking that mono light paralyzer, then absolutely you could try to get her, but just know that you could also just use Edrum, or you could use this guy. And don't even lie to me saying you don't got him. Everybody has this unit. If you don't, then you just started playing 2 hours ago. You will get this unit before the week's up. And that is actually it for all of the units that will be on this banner. Unfortunately, no extra gacha equips come, so it's just the same that we got from part 1. And the only other thing that's coming out with this is, of course, the part 2 of the event, and of course, Alk's Awakening, but we're not going to talk about that here. So, the verdict. Should you summon on this banner or not? And the verdict on this banner for me is that if you need a support unit and you're newer to the game, Sylph I would feel like is almost a must-have. However, if you already have support units for your team, for example, you could have like Haruto and Mako, or you could have like Rimuru and Finn or something like that. You know, you already have 2 solid supports, or you already have like a good foundation to an extent, if you get what I'm saying. You don't really need other support units. That you would take them, but you don't really necessarily need them at the moment. And I don't think this banner is as valuable as it may come off to be. However, if you're missing those support units, then I definitely recommend trying to get Sylph if you can. But if you don't need Sylph, then to be honest, this banner is kind of a skip. The only other reason you would try to go on this banner or possibly summon on this banner would only be for Eris. And Eris is really cool, don't get me wrong. I think she's one of the funnest units from this entire crossover and one of the more interesting units from this crossover, but she's just a damage dealer. That's the biggest issue. She's just a damage dealer, and let's be honest, we have hundreds of damage dealers and Grand Summoners. So if you don't need a support unit because you already have others, and you don't need Eris, or you don't really care about getting Eris, then to be honest, this banner is just a skip. It doesn't really have any redeeming qualities on it. You're literally summoning for older units. So that's what I think about it. If you don't need a support unit and you don't want Eris, then you can skip this banner. If you are looking for another support unit, then I would actually recommend throwing some multis at it and seeing if you can luck out and get Sylph, you know, throw some Alk Stones and all that. And if you want Eris, I can't really stop you from trying to, of course, summon for her. So amen, knock yourself out. That's going to be it though for this video. Thank you all for coming out. It's been your boy P. Tomorrow is going to be some craziness on the channel, so make sure you stick around for that. Tell me down below if you're going to be summoning later tonight, or if you're waiting until tomorrow, the case may be. And if you are summoning, I wish you the best of luck. That's going to be it for this one. Thank you all again for coming out. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe for more. And last but not least, you guys already know, don't forget to drink water.